Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, everyone, wherever you're joining from. If you are here for the latest update of Testkube, you are in the right place.
We're in
And
the
no,
right
there is
place.
not a typo on the slide. This is the actual update for all the cool stuff that we released in February. So, again, if you just joined, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We are very excited to walk you through all the cool stuff that we have for February. 1 p.m. in the East Coast here in the US. I'm going to give a couple of minutes for everyone to join, and then we'll get started. In the meantime,
Yeah,
I'm going
just
to pass
to
it
kind
to.
of riff on the February March thing. So February is like a short month, right? So
It was, yeah.
so something just happened there. So I think the actual release, the bits and the bytes were released like in first week of March, but we still call it the February release.
All right. Okay. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
And
Have another
eventually,
try
we'll
in 12 months to see what we do.
eventually
Sure.
we'll talk about the right month, people.
Yes,
But trust us, good stuff is going to be presented today. So,
good stuff is happening.
um, in the meantime, before we get started, I'm going to pass it to Ule with the weather.
With the weather, yes. Let me tell you about the weather here in Stockholm, Sweden. It's kind of gray. We're still waiting for, I was going to say Christmas, for spring. Allergies are getting started, so
All
that's
right.
always a good sign of spring, but it's still pretty cold.
All right.
How is it where you are?
Orlando, Florida. Today we are at actually we have a cold front, so today is a little chilly, but
Cold front? Well, so tell me,
yeah,
what's a cold front in Orlando?
cold front for all of you who don't know. In Orlando, we are at right now 1 p.m. is 66 degrees,
Mm.
and we have a low of 47 later, and so the rest of the week is looking nice and pleasant. But yeah,
Oh,
we are, yeah, I mean, sorry, it goes below 50 and people here goes by its jackets and
mm,
scarves and things
mm,
like that to protect themselves from the bitter
mm,
cold of
mm.
that
No, no
Floridians are not
comment.
used to.
No
Yeah.
comment.
All
Well, I'm
right.
happy for you.
Yeah. All right, 102 people. Let's go ahead and get it started. So, welcome. My name is Lucio. I will be your host today, and with me I have Ule Lensmar, who happens to be the CTO here at Testkube, and we have very cool stuff prepared for you. Before we get started, a couple of housekeeping items that I want to share with you. First of all, we have there you go. This session is for you. We want to make it as informal as possible, and that is with a purpose for you to understand what we have prepared. So please ask any questions that you may have. You will see a Q&A button there, but you also can put it in the chat window if you want. Um, we will try to get to all the questions that we receive during the webinar before the end of the webinar. And if by any chance we cannot answer or don't have the time to answer your question, we will follow up via the email that you used to register for this presentation. Last but not, also this is going to be available on demand. So in the unlikely case that you may need to jump off, you can always go to testcube.io/resources and go ahead and catch up on this webinar or any other webinars that we have done in the past. And I believe you can also see a list of things that we have coming up down the pipeline. And of course, go to testcube.io/resources for all the material that we have for you. There is blogs, there is how-tos, there is videos, all the cool stuff that we have put in there for you. Now, moving forward today, we're going to give you a quick overview. Chances are that you are familiar with Testkube, but we're going to give you a 2-minute overview just for those who are not familiar with the product. This is not going to be a sales pitch. It's a no nonsense presentation. We just want you to get to level up with what is it that we're talking today. Also, we're going to give you an overview of the February release, or if you feel more comfortable with it, the latest things that we have put in the product. We're going to talk about the functionality deep dive, and then Ule is going to also give us a demo. And last but not least, we're going to go through things that are coming up in the roadmap, and then, of course, the Q&A. So, Ule, what do you say we get started with the quick overview?
Go
So,
for it.
oh, actually, this is me.
This is
So
you. Yeah.
this is all me. All right, no pressure. All right. So as I mentioned, this is a quick 2-minute overview, and the way I like to tell this story is, if it is important, if the software that you're producing, if the software that you're working on is important, that means that it must be tested. We have seen multiple news out there, multiple headlines of bugs getting in the way and crashing airlines and crashing cloud systems and crashing all sorts of applications. And surprisingly, today, according to Forrester, only most of our organizations report that only 23% of their code is being covered by actual testing. So that means that there is a lot of stuff that is making it in production that it shouldn't be there. Now the problem is also that it has to be tested, but testing is also getting harder. All of us are being impacted by something that I like to call the AI mandate. That means that there is a lot of leaders, executives, team members, everybody is pushing us towards adopting more AI.
Mm.
Cloud native infrastructures are prime time right now, and of course, DevOps and modern engineering is the norm. So that means that there is going to be more software to test. That means that there is going to be more complexity in the infrastructure, and last but not least, it means that things are making into production even faster. So testers are the testing industry is having a hard time trying to keep up, and that happens also with a lot of solutions that we're seeing there. The first of all, you may think doing it yourself is a way to go. Kudos to those who want to try, but at the end of the day, it may not be worth the investment. You may find yourself digitally stitching multiple tools, trying to figure out how that's going to work. It's going to cost you more in staff. It's going to cost you more on cloud resources, and security is also going to be at risk. CI/CD tools ultimately were not meant for testing. They will tell us more about that. That again is going to have multiple red flags for you to watch out for. And there are multiple cloud testing vendors out there that may signify that you will end up locked into a vendor that you may not want to work with. So that is why we actually I'm Ule, you are much more fluent on this slide. Why don't you tell us what this is about?
Shucks. Well, sure. I'd love to talk to this slide. This is uh, kind of level setting, kind of with the background that you gave. If we just look at kind of how testing has evolved over the recent years with the advent of cloud native, and of course now with AI, we see really testing happening across the entire pipeline, right? From early on, when planning, you need to plan your tests, you need to write your tests, you need to run your tests locally, you need to run your tests in your pipelines. And today, with like more asynchronous delivery pipelines in cloud native and GitOps, etc., there's also testing that needs to be happening asynchronously in those kind of pre-production pipelines while you promote pre-releases across environments. And then, of course, a lot of people still test in production, which is usually a starting point, and then you go backwards from there. And this is driven by cloud native, by AI, by shifting left, which we've done for a long time, but also shifting right, meaning that we want to do testing quality later in the life cycle. So there's just more testing going on. And to that end, what we have for you is Testkube.
And this Testkube, again, if you're not familiar with us, we are the test orchestration platform, which means that you are going to be able to aggregate, search, and report all your testing activities within your pipeline. It is cloud native. That means that we are going to leverage all the infrastructure that you have already invested on. And last but not least is vendor agnostic. If you have a tool that you love to work with, we work nicely with that. You can go ahead and take a look at all the integrations that we have. So it's not a rip and replace. We're not going to come in and tell you, hey, stop what you're doing so you can use us. We actually work with all the tools that you love working with. And the most important, especially in today's what is it, the landscape, we are an AI powered platform, which, as you will see in a few minutes, we have multiple things that are part of the core of Testkube that will help you keep up with the speed of development as it is being impacted by AI. Um,
Yeah, I can talk to this one.
yeah, Uli, go ahead.
So if you break down what Testkube is, it's as you said, a cloud-native test orchestration platform. Has kind of 4 key components: a workflow catalog. This is where we catalog all the tests that you have, and it's important to understand that Testkube is not a testing tool per se. It doesn't replace any of your existing tests. It takes your existing tests and runs those efficiently across wherever, whenever you might want to run them across that infinity pipeline that I showed. There's an execution engine, which is based on Kubernetes, leverages Kubernetes to be able to scale your tests to run all the tests that you need to run and shard them and parallelize them, et cetera, et cetera. We have a test observability layer, meaning that we pull in all the results and artifacts and logs and whatever that both from the tests themselves, but also optionally from the system under test to give you one place to go troubleshoot and analyze and log and report on your tests, and the analytics portal at the end kind of brings all that data together into one platform. And this then, of course, scales across all your pipelines, across all your production environments, across all the testing tools that you're using, and all the ways that you want to be triggering your tests. And as we've mentioned a couple of times, it's Kubernetes native. It's meant to run in your infrastructure, leveraging what you have in Kubernetes and cloud native, and it's obviously has a lot of AI goodness to it, like any proper tool does nowadays. Just a high level description of what Testkube is. So what I want to do now is just talk about the release that we did end of February, beginning of March, and I mean, we're in the middle of March, so it hasn't been that long. So just to kind of outline the big things we've done in this release, and I'll do a short demo just to kind of show how that plays out in the product. First of all, one of the big changes that we've done now is we've done a major update to our core architecture, meaning that we now have much better support for GitOps scenarios. We have a lot of customers that use GitOps to manage the state of their infrastructure, including their tests and the tests that they're running with Testkube. And there have been a couple of different setups that we haven't supported as well as we would like to, but now we do. We've also added more flexible emitting of events. Testkube today can emit events, including webhooks, CD events, Kubernetes events. It's been somewhat locked in, and we've made that more flexible with a dedicated agent for webhook emitting. So once again, we see in the customers, the users that we have, very complex infrastructures, a lot of clusters, a lot of namespaces, complex topologies for network infrastructure, and being able to tie into that and to their pipelines is super important to really not have to cut any corners when it comes to testing. We've made improvements to our AI agents that we launched last month. We now have OAuth support for MCP servers, which it makes it easier to authenticate. You don't have to do token-based authentication. We've made a lot of improvements to the core agent engine for more long-running sessions. So if you have an agent that does remediation, for example, and needs to look at changes on GitHub, it needs to look at test results, maybe it needs to look at other things that it for it to be able to remediate bugs that might be in your tests or in your code. Those kind of sessions are much more stable now, and just provide a better experience if you involve multiple MCP servers for more complex use cases. And then we've added improvements around operational monitoring, very common to be able to monitor using Prometheus, Grafana, etc. The state of Testkube, the state of Testkube agents. We've put some effort into making that more flexible to allow, once again, us to play better in more complex environments. And finally, we've also added a much easier way to experience Testkube. You can now go to the Testkube.io, and there's a self-service trial now where you can immediately sign in, get your own organization provisioned for you in our control plane. You can add your own agents, import your own tests, see what that looks like without any intervention from our side. Obviously, we're happy to help, and you can always reach us through Slack and a bunch of different channels that will make you aware of when you go through the onboarding process. Okay, that's the high-level overview. Let's dig a little bit deeper on the architecture update. For those of you that are new to Testkube, probably doesn't make a lot of sense. For those of you who've been using Testkube, this could make sense. What we're actually doing is moving the resource management of Testkube to the control plane itself. This has been done by an agent previously, which improves performance and stability in very large-scale deployments. We have customers with hundreds of users, thousands of tests that they're running. In those scenarios, this is a big benefit for the user experience. This migration from, if you're on an existing version, is totally transparent and automatic, so it doesn't affect kind of your end user experience of the product. Hopefully it will get better. I mean, that's kind of the point of this, but it doesn't mean there's no, you're not losing any functionality. There's no change in functionality. We have an agent capability model in the product today, where until today we've had two types of agent: runner agents that you can deploy in your infrastructure to run your workflows, listener agents that you can deploy to listen for Kubernetes events that you can use to orchestrate and trigger your tests. Now we've added a GitOps agent. I'll talk more about that in a while, which helps you sync resources into the control plane, and a webhook agent, as I've also mentioned, that helps you emit events in a complex infrastructure. So this we're expanding our model around the agents that we have. Not to be confused with AI agents, which is something different and related to AI and agentic workflows in the control plane. So let's talk a little bit about the GitOps agent. Basically, what the GitOps agent does is that if you're managing your Testkube resources through GitOps, you're storing them in Git and you manage them maybe together with the applications that they're testing, you will be what we usually see is people deploy those into their clusters together with the application themselves. And for Testkube then to be able to run them, these need to be synced up into the control plane. So Testkube has access to the latest version of those. And for that specific purpose, we now have a GitOps agent. And this, you can have multiple GitOps agents. This is something we didn't support in the past. So you might have a bunch of applications, each with their own Git repository, where you have your tests and workflow definitions. These can now, thanks to the GitOps agent, all be synced to the same Testkube environment where those tests can then be run and analyzed and all that kind of stuff. Something we could not support previously. Important to note, sync is unidirectional. So this GitOps agent syncs your resources into the control plane. It doesn't pull changes back from the control plane into your cluster. And the syncing is based on the resource name, meaning that if you already have a workflow or a webhook or whatever in your control plane with the same name, that will be overwritten by the sync agent. So you'll always have the latest version available in the control plane. And you can have multiple agents and they will override each other based on just who's synced last. For that specific purpose, you might not always want syncing to happen and to override changes that you make in the control plane. Very common use case is that you sync something into the control plane, you go to the dashboard, you make some changes to make sure, want to try out some different configurations. In that scenario, you might want to temporarily disable syncing for a specific resource, and that's definitely doable. I'll show that in the next slide. Also, deletion is also propagated. So if you delete something in your Git repository, your GitOps tool deletes that from your namespace, the GitOps agent will then also delete that resource from the control plane to keep everything in sync. And pausing syncing can be achieved by adding a specific annotation to your Testkube resource under the hood, as well, some of you might know, some of you might not. Testkube resources are all defined as CRDs, which is why you can sync them through GitOps tools like Argo CD and Flux. And so they follow kind of the conventions there. And for that purpose, we've added an annotation that you can add to your resources that will kind of block syncing of a specific resource. So this is in the use case that you might want to avoid changes being overwritten in the control plane. You can use this. Okay, that's the GitOps agent. Won't talk much more about that, but happy to answer questions. The other one we've added is the webhook agent. So today you can, as you can see in this picture here to the right, Testkube emits a bunch of events. Webhooks is the most common one, which you might want to use to integrate with external systems. You might want to push data into, I don't know, Datadog or to Jira or to whatever other system you might want to integrate with. Although today AI agents are a much maybe more flexible way to do that. Webhooks are definitely still an option. CD events is something that we support and can emit. It's a standard from the CD Foundation. Kubernetes events are traditional Kubernetes events that you can listen for in your cluster using other event listening and monitoring tools like Argo events. So for example, if you wanted to set up an Argo event sync that listens to things happening in Testkube to trigger off some other kind of action, maybe with Argo workflows, you could do that. And these events are emitted from a webhook agent that you deploy in your cluster, and you can deploy that agent wherever you want, right? So you might want to emit agents from you might want to emit events in a specific cluster, and you can deploy a webhook agent accordingly. So this gives you much more flexibility where you might want to emit events in your infrastructure. Obviously, this speaks to more complex infrastructure deployments. And what we're planning to do going forward is to actually emit these events from the control plane itself. So a webhook agent will not be needed. But once again, if you want that flexibility to be able to emit certain events from certain clusters, namespaces, that will be an option. Okay.
Well, before we jump onto the
Yeah.
improvements for the AI agents, there's a question in the Q&A panel.
Oh, great.
I'll read it out loud. It said, "I just want to make sure that I heard right. Did you say we do not have to do token-based authentication anymore?" I believe it was close to the beginning of the
Yes,
update.
for the MCP servers, you don't have to use token-based authentication. So today, in our initial AI agent release, if you wanted to add an MCP server for an AI agent to consume or interact with, you would have to do token-based authentication with that MCP server. Now we support also OAuth-based authentication, which is maybe the more common approach to authenticating in the MCP world. So that is what I was alluding to. So it's specific to MCP and not other types of authentications. OAuth authentication, for example, for our REST API is something that we have on the roadmap for later this year.
All right. Well,
hope that answered the question.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
think it
Sorry
did. We got an okay and a thumbs up on here, so it sounds
Okay,
like
great.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for asking, and I'm sorry for being unclear. But speaking of AI agents, so speaking of, so OAuth authentication flows for MCP servers makes them, like I said, maybe a little bit easier. There are a lot of MCP servers out there that do not support token-based authentication. So this definitely makes it more flexible, or gives you access to more MCP servers. I'm going to show a little bit what that looks like in just a second. As I mentioned, the AI agent engine has been improved. We've also had the possibility to archive chats in the interface. So if you use this functionality and you have a lot of chats lying around that you've initiated with our agents, you can archive those to kind of maybe get rid of some of the clutter that these could add up to in the dashboard. We have a lot of very cool updates coming for AI agents in the release at the end of March, which is actually next week. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. But this has been more of a hardening release on the AI side, specifically agent side. Finally, we've improved operational monitoring. This is around Prometheus metrics. The control plane now exposes its own set of Prometheus metrics, which aggregates for example, the number of executions and durations, et cetera, across all runner agents that you might have. And you can, of course, continue to monitor agents specifically to get the metrics from that agent alone. So this is backwards compatible with the metrics that we exposed before this architectural shift. And these metrics, just like all Prometheus kind of metrics, they reset on restart either of the agent or of the control plane. And this is all spelled out, hopefully reasonably well in the documentation. I'll call that out because this is an important thing to many operational teams who are running Testkube in, once again, somewhat larger infrastructure environments. Okay, let's do a quick demo. Oh, Lucio, you're back. Is there an
Hello, everyone. It's me again. I just wanted to also, we're not mentioning here in the slides, but I wanted to let everyone know that if you are new to Testkube or wanted to start using Testkube now, we have launched also a trial experience. It's brand new. So you can head out to testkube.io and click on the get started, and that will take you to an actual trial environment. It's not a sandbox, it's not limited. It's actually a 30-day trial that you can go ahead and launch and run on your own infrastructure, and pretty much take advantage of the entire platform before if that is what you have been wanting to do before making a decision. So just trying to put it out there. It's available. It's been available for a couple of weeks. It is available right now if you want to do an actual trial of the full test orchestration platform.
And also mention that trial also gives you access to our AI functionality. So if you want to try out what agents can do with your test results and kind of analysis and all the stuff that they can do, there's a lot of cool stuff in there.
Yep.
Okay, enough said about that. So really quickly, I wanted to show just going back to how many, as I said, the user experience for this architectural update isn't vast, and there's the dashboard, etc., looks just like before. Not a lot of changes here. The main changes are really under the agents tab, where you can now, when you connect a new agent, there are now new capabilities that you can enable. So if I want to have, let's say I wanted to deploy, a GitOps agent then I can select just that, and then there'll be a command generated for you just to do that. So, or if I wanted to have webhook agent, etc. So, and as you can see here, the capabilities are additive. It's not like you an agent can have any of these 4 capabilities. You could have all capabilities in one agent, or you could just have an agent with the runner and GitOps capability, which is probably pretty common. So that's one way, and you'll see here in the list of agents, you'll see here I have one default agent, and this has all 4 capabilities, and that's because it was migrated from a pre-February release agent, migrated into this new version, and in which case old, what we used to call super agents, has turned into an agent with all capabilities. And here's a runner agent that I had since before, which just had runner and listener capabilities. The other thing I just wanted to show really quickly is around the MCP server OAuth support. So here are my AI agents here under connected MCP servers. I can add an MCP server. I'm going to copy paste. Where did that one go? Let me see here. Oh, I forgot. I'm going to copy paste this from another environment just to show you what it looks like. And I have so much stuff here. Let's see. We're going to use the Notion MCP server. So let's copy that URL. Let's go back here. Add that over here, Notion MCP. And then here I'm going to select OAuth. And when I do create, it's going to prompt me, and you won't see this, but I now have a pop-up where I have to authenticate, authorize. And when I go back here, you'll see that it now has created the MCP server, and here I can see all the tools that the Notion MCP server exposes. So this is a much easier flow than having to kind of create an API token and paste that into here, etc., etc. And this, once again, many MCP servers out there prefer this or only support this way of authenticating. And now I can, of course, create an AI agent, Notion reporter, create Notion pages. Let's create that agent, and one of the instructions, you are great at creating Notion pages. And then here I can add that MCP server. Let's take that Notion MCP server, and let's see, maybe I want to give it access to create pages, which kind of seems reasonable. Update page. Let's start there. So now I have an agent here that can actually create Notion pages for me. Let's give it a try. Create a Notion page with a summary of all my recent workflow executions. So this was let's do that. Okay, now it's working. So while it's working, let's see what else did I want to show you for this specific release. Actually, let's see here. It's asking, it wants to create a page in Notion. I'll approve that. Here it created a Notion page for me. I'm going to click here, and it's redirecting me to the Notion app, so you can't see this page. I wonder. Click here, continue your browser. Eventually, we are going to see a page here. This is, I can see it on my, well, you're kind of just gonna have to trust me that it did actually create a Notion page with the a summary table of all the executions in my Testkube environment. Okay, so actually those are the kind of high-level features I wanted to show in the demo. I think the Prometheus metrics aren't that much to show. I can also show the chats here. There's now a possibility to archive a chat. And these are all my previous chats. But as you saw here, it was super easy for me to create an AI agent, connect it to Notion, prompt it to do a summary of my executions, and then actually create a page in Notion for me. And one of the really cool things we have coming up in the next release, which is next week, as I've already teased, is around being able to schedule agents. So specifically, if you want to run, let's say, an agent once a day that does this kind of summary, writes it to Notion, that's something you'll be able to do. Okay, and now I've kind of jumping back to the slide. So what is coming in the next release? And there's actually a lot coming in the release that we have coming up soon. So one is on the AI. I already spoiled that. So the autonomous AI agents, being able to trigger AI agents on a schedule or when a test fails, for example. So you could have an AI agent that, when a test fails, does the troubleshooting for you and creates an issue in Jira, or even does remediation for you, creates a pull request, etc. Something that you're able to do manually previously, but now it can be done totally autonomously. We've integrated with the official MCP catalog. So if you remember here in the demo, I had to kind of copy paste the URL of the MCP server. Now you'll be able to browse the public MCP server catalog, so making that process even smoother. Also, we're now allowing you to configure which LLM models you might want to have. So if you're connecting to providing Testkube with an endpoint to Anthropic or whatever, you can then also add configurations so users can select between different models for different agents. Also making a bunch of UX improvements, so to make the AI experience more similar to what you have in more developer-oriented tooling. Making changes to the workflow engine, improvements. We're supporting fail fast for workflows, a very commonly requested functionality. We're going to adding support for input-output parameters between steps in a workflow. We're improving timeout handling in workflows themselves to be able to kind of specify that more specifically. We're adding a backstage plugin for the control plane. We've had a backstage plugin until now for open source. Now we also have that for the control plane. A bunch of UX improvements, inlining artifacts in JUnit reports, allowing you to manage execution tags. This is actually really cool because it's also available to MCP server and to our agents. So you can have an agent that, together with the autonomous triggering, for example, automatically categorizes failures and then adds a tag to the execution if it was a network failure or a configuration failure or just a test failure. And then you can use those tags then to further filter your executions to help you kind of hone down on different types of failures. So there's a lot of very, very cool things coming up there. Operational improvements, we're integrating with Vault for credential management. We're adding key rotation for agents. We're adding resource group credentials, and we're also adding the support for multiple GitOps per Testkube instance. So a lot of good stuff coming up in that release. So I hope that got you excited. And back to, let me see, I kind of lost you. Julio,
No, I'm
there
here.
you are. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
lots of great stuff coming up. So thank you for sharing that, Ule. Right now, we are officially opening the Q&A. Please let us know of any questions that you have. While you think of the questions that you want to share with us, please go to our resources. So if you want to go ahead and oh, actually, yeah, thank you, Ule. So we are going to be next week in Amsterdam at KubeCon 2026. So if by any chance you or your teammates, or if you know anyone who's going, please let them know that they can stop by booth 1162. We're going to be there all week, and we also are going to give away a Lego set, precisely the one that you see right now on the screen. Is pretty cool. If you stop by the booth and watch a demo and talk to us, and you can then participate in a raffle and be the lucky winner of this. I'm envious.
do
I
you have that? I was going to ask you, Lucia, because I know you're a Star Wars fan. Do you have
no,
that one
I
already?
I do not, and I don't know if the audience can see my background, but I do have the one of the helmet. I don't know if I can show that. Yeah, there's a stormtrooper helmet right there. Um, Sadly, I cannot participate on the giveaway, but
Mm,
yeah, I'm very envious of the lucky person who is going to take that home. Is not one of the small ones; it's a big one.
mm.
I think it's something like anywhere between 600 and 1,000 pieces. Is big. Is pretty cool. So, but yes, please, if you know of your of anyone who's going to KubeCon next week, please let them know. Share this online, let it on your social channels, and invite them to come and talk to us. Ule, you will be there in the booth with us,
I
right?
will be there and looking forward to it. And I'm going to be envious of the person who gets the that Lego set. Yes,
Yeah.
I'll be there. I'm looking forward to demoing whatever people want me to demo. But of course, the AI stuff, the
Yeah.
talk about the GitOps support. But please come over and talk to us, and we'll have plushies.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. We're
We
gonna
will
have
have
cool
plushies here.
swag for you
I
over.
have a plushie. Here you go.
There
And
you
I
go.
have we sent 3 boxes of plushies. They're waiting in a storage in Amsterdam. So
Alrighty.
it's
So
very awesome.
in case you end up with no Lego, you will bring home a plushie, and yeah, and again, listen, we are a no nonsense demo shop here, so please stop by. You will learn everything that you need to learn about TestCube, but obviously we want to help you with whatever you're doing in Kubernetes as well. So it is a one in a lifetime opportunity to talk to Ule. We'll have other people from the team there, so you can ask any questions. All right, so I am going to read. Actually, let me go ahead and put it on the stage. Ule, we have a cool question here
Yeah, go for it.
on the screen. Let me see if I can do this correctly. So yeah, go for it. I'm gonna read it out loud. It said, "I am only just starting with Kubernetes education, but I still think I can ask." And of course, no, all questions are valid. What is the level of platform infra maturity that might be necessary to make this workflow work? Thinking in terms of not having a dedicated platform team to support necessary configurations.
That's a great question. So we'd like to think that you don't need a dedicated platform team to get this thing to work. Testkube in itself is not a very complicated thing to install. It's a straightforward Helm install, and so definitely you shouldn't need a platform team to get started. You can also install Testkube locally, just on your, if you have a local cluster, Minikube or Kind or whatever, you can set up the entire thing locally and just experience and play with the features that we have in the product. And just like you mentioned earlier, Lucio, we have a cloud trial where you can set up
Mhm.
where you don't have to install anything. To get the control plane in place, you'll have to install an agent to run the tests locally if that's what you want to do. So we'd like to think you don't need a big platform team, but of course, a lot of our customers are big enterprises, and it's usually the platform teams there that manage the installations and the operations of TestCube. But once again, you should be able to get far, and please go through the doc. There's plenty of documentation on how to get started, and hopefully that works for you. And if it doesn't, you should reach out on Slack and see
Yeah.
how we can help.
I love that question. And also, it reminds me we are about to we are these AI features, especially the TestCube AI agents, are available right now, as Ule said, in the trial version, as well as right now for any customer. We are doing an early access program for this feature. So if you want to participate in it, if you want to provide feedback, if you want to work with us on making it better, please let us know. We will be more than happy to work with you to make sure that that this is well implemented and you're making the best of it. And it's a win-win situation. We will help you through whatever you need to do. Plus, we will want also your feedback. Extremely valuable. So, and it looks like we answered that question, Ule. So, we have a happy face.
Good.
All right. So I don't see any more questions coming in the chat. So we talked today about the February stuff, which is super cool. The architectural changes. We also talked about the enhancements to the AI agents. I posted a couple of, actually, a link in the chat window for all of you who are curious about how to use the TestCube AI agents. We have prepared for you 3 different use cases, or 4, I believe, that we have documented there. You can go ahead and take a look. They have copy, they have examples, and if you are the kind of person that consumes content better through video, we also have some demos in there that you can follow along with either the platform or the trial environment, whatever you're working with. And so yeah, happy to continue talking about that. And other than that, also please keep an eye on our resources, because we're going to continue publishing follow-ups to this webinar, as well as the upcoming things that we have coming up. Just a heads up, we have the March launch or March release webinar coming up in a couple of weeks. And in addition to that, we have also an open source webinar coming up a few weeks after that. So stay tuned for more material for you to learn more about TestCube. And last but not least, if you're going to be next week in Amsterdam for KubeCon, please come and see us at booth 1162. All right,
Yep.
Uli, that's
Yep.
all I have for
Lucio,
today.
been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you all.
Thank
So
you.
we are Testkube. You are the audience. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye
Thank you
bye.
all. Bye bye.